Hey guys, we are here for round 2. So picking up exactly where we left off. Generally, there was a blur. I remember nothing but gray and I assumed I passed out. Upon waking up, Mickey was fast asleep on my arm. It hurt, but not because of her, but for obvious reasons. My adrenaline stopped flooding and the ability to feel pain was my reality. That was my reality rushed at me. I went to try and wake my sister, but my hand felt a restraint. I had been bound to my bed, not only by my wrists, but by my feet, too. Michaela, get up. I'm in pain. In an instant, she shot up like she'd been stabbed with a sewing needle in the top of her finger. She looked at me with two red and puffy eyes, obviously from crying. She darted out of the room. He's awake! He's awake! What do I do? A muffled, "we'll be in soon," was heard. She flew back in. Michaela went to hug me, but then stopped and pulled back. Tears flooded her face. She stared at me softly with glistening eyes. Tears dripped off her eyelashes, and I swear I could hear them hit the floor. With her eyes locked onto mine, Michaela sat down, gripping her own shoulders with the tips of her fingers. This gaze was held for a while, and it was only interrupted by the footsteps of the nurse. She walked over to me and pressed a button that, as far as I could see, was a release line that leads into my IV. I felt looser and more relaxed in minutes. It was a painkiller, much like morphine, the nurse mentioned. You're at UMON's psychiatric hospital. You'll be staying here until your 5250 has been called off, until the doctor deems you are no longer suicidal. You'll log thoughts and notes in this journal. She held one up briefly with a pencil. I noted the dullness of the writing utensil. We'll unlock your restraints later today. It's 2 a.m. I figure the two of you need your time. And she backed out of the room. The room door clicked with a lock. I assume Michaela had a key out, or a way out. I hope so. There wasn't a bathroom inside here. When I turned to my eldest, she was looking at me. You never stopped looking at me, I said. She nodded. I'd always been so observant. I'd always liked to make my notes vocal, to remind myself that I had noted all the little things, to let everyone know that I noticed the little things. I didn't really say much else. There wasn't really much else to be said. I think my sister understood that I tried to take my life for wanting nothing more than to be with our deceased, Liliana. The nurse had finished dressing his wounds. The area that was bandaged was smaller and generally looked cleaner and less horrid. Leaving his side, she tended to putting new sheets on his bed, as well as a few other hygienic things around his confinement. It was during this time that Cheshire wrote whatever was left of his memory in the journal, however pathetic he thought it was. No one made him write the last time. It was the same hospital, same head doctor. Maybe times had changed. As the nurse left, he noted the window. Twittering birds, the sound of the street, mainly a car with a loud exhaust. Everything made Cheshire shudder. His pen returned to the paper right below to where the last sentences of his flashback were recorded. He flipped the page and then wrote something. He wasn't sure he was ready to show anyone else. Unexpectedly, a knock came to his door. Cheshire didn't even notice the nurse had left. Assuming it was the nurse once more, he ignored it, but the knock came again. I can't open the door, ask a nurse, he said. It's Ben. Benjamin? Who else, you moron? The tone was stern, but he was playing. You have to ask a nurse to open the door from out there. He gave Ben quick directions on where the desk was from his room. Inside the room, Cheshire thought about why a nurse hadn't accompanied his best friend up to the room to open the door and allow the two to visit. It wasn't long before the opening of the door interrupted his thoughts. There, in the doorway, there was a friend that saved his life. The brother his mother had never had for him. It was silent, though people stopped and looked in the room, as well as the two boys, during the moment or two that they simply gazed at each other in a concerned manner. Eventually, Ben walked in. A nurse shut the door not seconds after he left the door frame. Sorry. Like I'd run, he said. Hell, I don't know what you'd do, Cheshire. The conversation was quickly cut. Cheshire looked at the floor. Why? He asked. He said, Lily. Funny you say that, Benjamin took it. Funny you say that. Benjamin took a seat on the floor directly in front of his friend. While Cheshire sat with his legs out, Ben sat cross-legged. No, it wasn't a dream. I saw her. Bullshit. Cheshire turned away. Benjamin reached for Cheshire's shoulder to pull him back face forward. Cheshire had begun to cry. She's dead, you idiot. I told you that. I told you that when we met. She's mad at you. What the fuck? Cheshire looked baffled, confused, disoriented. Benjamin took a deep inhale. He tilted his head back. His eyes were met with a gray, dim ceiling. A thought crossed his mind about just how dull a room like this was supposed to do anything besides incubate negative feelings. He let go of his breath. I'm weird, kid. I've explained to you 100 times. We're connected, you and I. We have some invisible line, and I know what you're up to. Well, just by feeling it. What you feel, I understand, if I'm focused enough. That's how you called, Cheshire started. Yes, his friend interrupted. Benjamin then continued. I think that's how she found me. I don't know. Talking to the dead is weird. But I don't think she meant to scare me. She meant to talk to you. Maybe Lily knew I was protecting you from hurting yourself for her. Except not the second time. Yeah, remind us both, you dipshit. It wouldn't be possible for me to just have knocked the razor out of your hand. Sorry, Cheshire said absently. He didn't know what to think. Everything was making sense, but it's one of those otherworldly experiences that you're not really sure you want to have. Like seeing what reality tells you to perceive as a ghost, but you're convinced it's just a shiny object in the room, or out-of-body experiences. Cheshire wasn't good at understanding any paranormal stuff. Benjamin studied it in college. He was still in college, while Cheshire was merely in high school. Sorry, ass, he said. There was silence once more. Moments without noise between these two individuals never came as an awkward feeling, but as a granting of peace, or a moment to comprehend the other. They were highly intelligent, and came to accept more than the average person who walked blindly on the sidewalks. Benjamin moved his eyes from Cheshire, almost as if the 15-year-old boy wanted some sense of comfort. Like he was looking for something more. What did she say to you? She never wants you to do it again, Benjamin said softly. His voice changed from a harsh, almost angry tone when he had first been talking with his friend, but was still serious, like he had a message to convey. She said, How could you think that taking your life would make me happy? It would make things better. Those who die by another's hand rest eternally. But those who decide to take their own life, be it in revenge or anything else, do not join those who rest. You wouldn't have joined me. You would have suffered from here. Or you would have suffered. From here I can watch you and smile upon your life. Don't sadden me. It was like she was talking, I swear. Cheshire noted in his journal. He hadn't stopped crying. If anything, tears were coming more rapidly. He was desperately looking to Benjamin for guidance, for help. He needed something. Ben was staring idly out the window, in some sort of fixated trance. Did Benjamin catch him writing? No. But with the book open, he flipped to the page before and placed the book gently in front of his friend. His friend had the eyes of his sister for a moment, and the disturbed child wanted her to hear him. Benjamin's eyes fell upon the single sentence that Cheshire wrote on the page, the sentence that was written as if it was the sentence that was written as it was, though the moment... I'm sorry, this sentence doesn't make sense. The sentence that was written as it was the moment the nurse had finished dressing his cuts. I never want to do this again. Thanks, guys.